Welcome to the show, folks. Happy Wednesday. If you don't know me yet, my name is Mike Asherbranner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector, proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business. And I have the one and only amazing hound, great collaborative partner, Jennifer Thompson, with me today. Because guess what, y'all? April's going to be on the camera, on front today, not in the back. So that is going to be a good deal for all of us, along with the one and only and amazing Julie Johnson with Integrate Trauma Informed Network. And we're going to be giving big glasses of milk, right? Not the whole cow, but daggum near most of it. So, how are you today, Jennifer?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm excited about this. This is going to be
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's legit excitement. That's not like, Vanna White stuff there. So, let's go. No offense to Vanna. Love you, Vanna. All right. So, real quick, I want to get this knocked out because this, folks, this is not infomercial or bait and switch. This is the new Redneck Connector podcast. Out of all the driving off the cliff, all the struggles, all the hardships, all the trying to figure it out, what's it? Life, business, harmony, all the above. So, good hearted people trying to go out there, build some value. And then we use other tactics that don't fit us, performative stuff that we're told we have to do to build, and we feel incongruent, fake, and sleazy at the sales call. If that's anything that you've ever felt, this one's for you. Yeah, we're going to talk some theory, but me and Bruce chop it up and we give out the real deal. So go check these out. The next couple episodes are going to be fired, folks. They're already good, but I'm handing you the playbook like coaching quarterback. So go check this out and comment, share if it worked, didn't work, your thoughts. Let's have a real discussion. All right. We have an impact to make out there. Yeah, it's good to make business. It's good to get time and money. But what's it for if we're not going to use it to make an impact? That's the Hound's way. So go there. I'll keep the ticker on during the show. And real quick, this is from Jennifer Thompson and her amazing sister Jade. All right. I Am Magazine. They're having an anthology. Great way, affordable and accessible way to really build authority, y'all. I did two of them with Dr. CJ from Level Up Academy. Extraordinary. One of them ended up in the University of Miami bookstore. Yeah, redneckism is in academia. Anything can happen. So, folks, if you want to go out there and build some authority, hey, do it. This is going to be phenomenal. A couple hounds already joined, so we want to get this out. We've only got a few more weeks. And then Jennifer is going to be on the show next week giving out more nuggets. So, thank you, my friend. So I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and run the intro. Let's go ahead and get it done. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited too. Let's do it. Be good. You want me to push the button? See, April's trained me well. I don't like to push buttons. All right, I'll do it. Let me do it.
Yes, go ahead and do it.
I got this.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right. Woo, allergy season. Dadgummit. All right. How fun is this? We get to say this show is brought to you by the lady who's going to be on in like 30 seconds, right? So, Julie Johnson, she is just amazing, y'all. Absolutely. I have rarely seen leadership to her level, and that's not flattery. That's true. So, Julie helps leaders and teams spot where capacity breaks down and where support quietly turns into pressure. So performance becomes sustainable and not exhausting. So, Julie, thank you for backing all these conversations that actually help people lead better. You're amazing. And then let's go to the one and only Beverly Neal Clinton, healthcare. That's all I got to say. Thank goodness there's so many amazing people coming together, collaborating to really do good for people who need it the most, which is pretty much all the country. So, also brought in part by Beverly Neal Clinton, and she builds practical infrastructures for people who serve others, strengthen operations in the healthcare system, improve outcomes, and stop leaving value and money on the table. All right, doctors, private practice, check it out. So, Beverly, we appreciate you and the real work that you do that creates real results. All right. Without further ado, let's bring them on up, Jennifer. The one and only Julie Johnson and April Wyatt. Oh, and while they're coming up here, got to give love to the folks who are first. Deborah Jackson of Bella Grace. I'm loving the Bella Grace. It took me
Love
a
it.
year.
Love it.
Yeah. I know. I just ran out of mine. I don't get it for like a couple. I think it's like a week or so. I think it
Oh
should be.
no.
I know.
I still have 3 boxes, and I was going to give it. 2. I'm not giving them out because I kept trying to go. Oh, this
It's
doesn't
gold. It is
I know.
gold. I'm telling you.
Ah,
Not a whole lot of rednecks, with the fancy packages, but it works because I didn't notice until like a week. I got so busy, and I'm like, why am I grumpy and not feeling well? I was like, oh wow. So
I
anyway,
know. That's good
yeah,
stuff.
we're gonna pull her up because a lot of hounds have tested this, and really excited. So, and Vanessa the Vivacious, wow, I can't wait to get to talk with her amazing podcast. She's got a lot going on. So you folks are great. Thank you for tuning in early. All right, let's get the party started. I want to start off with defining the problem, right? Survival mode. Oh, let me put it this way. I'm an example of what not to do. If you just did the opposite of what I did for many, many years or decades, then you would probably do well. And I'm not saying that facetious. I didn't know what I didn't know. That's why we do these shows, and that's why I love having guides like you ladies, friends, and people who can teach me what we don't know. So let me start off with this and give you a little intro so folks who may not know you by now really understand, where you come from. You ladies work in different lanes, same arena. I love these combos. So Julie, we'll start with you.
So a lot of my work revolves around helping app platforms reduce pressure in their onboarding. So my casebook example of what not to do is actually on my LinkedIn page now. It's up. It's Duolingo. Duolingo used to be great at being inviting, and now they create all this pressure. They actually email you, and they're like, we would say this in French, but you would fail or something like that. It's just very it's tongue in cheek, but it creates, not it's demoralizing, that's the point. So my work is how do we not create those messages of demoralization in app and wellness technology?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Calm app, ladies, and for years when it first came out. And then all of a sudden it was like, I don't want that. And every time I turn it on, and I would notice that. I'm not knocking it. I think it's a great tool, but I love your work. You're making it human, right? And then your people get to pick and choose, right? And that's it. Like don't try to get me on a sleep app if I'm having trouble with daily stress. Come on.
Well,
right?
and I think, it's that's why I always I've started talking to people about how to recognize it, because we can't even recognize it because it's so normalized,
Right. Well, it just happens. It over time, it slowly changes. We don't notice. It's the frog, right? You boil the frog. All right. So I'm going to have to transition boiled frogs with April. That was really bad setup. Right.
Hey, I like frogs.
Yeah.
I don't take that as a negative.
Frog legs? No? Yeah.
No, not frog legs. I
Well, save
appreciate
me.
frogs though.
Introduce yourself and save me right now. Do that.
Well, I love how Julie just nonchalantly said, this is what I do. So I'm going to take after Julie. And really, I invite people to pause above the noise. It's about just meeting yourself where you're at and learning, as we'll talk about tonight, ways to self-regulate and build capacity within the nervous system. And I do that through biodynamic breath work and the trauma release system, as well as just awareness tools and working with my own intuition, because I meet people where they're at. We're not trying to fit square pegs in round holes here. That does not work. So that's a little bit about me.
Wonderful. Let's jump into it because, gosh, I would say I would have listened if you taught me earlier, but, maybe. I learned it now, and that's what I want to share. So what does the survival mode look like in a high performer who's still getting results? So this is kind of the misnomer, right? Like you could be, and speaking from experience, like a functional alcoholic. You could do these things, but still you're not helping yourself, right? It catches up to you in the long run. So Julie, let's start with you. What does survival mode look like in a high performer who's still getting results?
Well, I mean, I think it looks like, and I'm just gonna speak from myself because I've been there, you know, over functioning, you know, that's like, you know, I was actually just thinking to myself this week about a certain situation. I was like, am I doing the work for somebody else in a situation that they needed to step into, you know? And that for me was a point of, wow, that's a point of burnout for me, you know, is when I have to start to, when someone is underperforming and then I step in to do their work. That is a high threshold, you know, area of like the Bermuda Triangle for me, because I can do that, but that's what creates that cycle of, oh, well, they're not going to do it, so I'm just going to step in and do it for them. Well, there's like three things that are issues with that. One, that creates burnout for you if you have that pattern too. And two, you're also not giving the other person the opportunity to step into their power and their own space, you know, and then you reinforce, behaviors that are just not good relationally. So, but that over functioning is 100% what I see in a lot of high performers, including myself, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of us, April, I think of it like if you mash the pedal on a car in neutral and you're like, oh, it's okay. See, it's still running. It's fine.
Mhm.
And then until it's not fine. And you have been a good guide to help me. Julie's information is spot on, but you have been walking me through this. So you have the patience of a saint. So what is your take on this? We're so busy. We're so high performing.
Yeah.
We're still
And-
getting results.
Just working off of exactly what Julie was saying, but looking at it also as the high performance, that's a protection mechanism. We've learned since childhood, and how that shows up is, that fight, flight, freeze, fawning. So the fight might be irritability or pushing harder, right? Over controlling, being impatient, or the flight is the constant busyness, distracting ourselves, overworking, that inability to slow down. And then the freeze is procrastination. We just don't have the capacity, so things shut down. Or exhaustion, checking out, right? We tend to get sick when big things are happening. And then the fawning is kind of what Julie was alluding to, right? Over accommodating, people pleasing. And then we tend to abandon our own needs and to maintain other people's things. So many people move between these without even realizing it. They think this is my personality, this is what I do, but it's really costing us in the long run.
Oh, I did it. I did it a lot. Go ahead, Julie.
Oh no, that's all. I just saw my face all of a sudden like clip off. So I just
Right, half your face. That was me. I don't blame Jennifer. Yep, I'm pushing buttons again, dadgummit. But let me go on this, because it's something that we all do at some point, or we do as a habit. We're not aware of it and we're ashamed of it. Let's get real. Like I was like, oh, I'm the only one. Everybody else is just better hiding it and spraying Lysol on it. So what are the first body, or are there body signals that show up before the person even realizes it? Like, is it, not waking up easily? Like, is there certain signs somebody can go, you know what? I didn't even realize I'm doing that. Maybe I am on the wrong path of, over functioning. Dysregulated. Julie?
I think the first signs that I usually see, it's kind of going, it's like the symptoms of what April was just talking about, the symptoms of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Like what does that even look like behaviorally? So I think if we're going to go from those categories, of like fight, that could be like maybe a little bit more frustrated, maybe a little bit argumentative. That's a sign that we're headed into some of those, some of those spaces of dysregulation in the nervous system. Fawning, agreeing when you don't, fleeing a conversation, avoiding, stonewalling, and then freezing, just, a freeze can be, it can be just not talking at a meeting. It can be, it can show up a lot of ways. That's just kind of the most obvious, or someone can't find their words. Those are all kind of more social, I think, nervous system ways of kind of finding those. Those are kind of loose, but that's kind of the behaviors I see when we're kind of moving through those. And you can move through all of those like in a 5-minute period. Like I've watched myself move through all of those and like in really distressing situations.
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question, but April already has one in the chamber. Go ahead.
Do. Yes. That sympathetic nervous system, as we're talking about here, and you're asking about how is it showing up in the body, right? So this is flooding with the stress hormones, and then tension comes up, right? These patterns of, in the biodynamic breath work, we talk about the different belts of tension that runs through the body. So headaches, racing thoughts, sleep, restless sleep, that is a pattern, right? And then into the breathing, the shallow breath, or I just can't catch my breath. Digestive issues for sure, right? Our gut is our first brain. And then that leads to emotional suppression. People want to feel happy, or they don't understand why they're at a birthday party with their kids and yet they're still feeling drawn away or not feeling happy in that moment. So this is how the body is responding, and our minds think one thing, but our body's like, nope, this is happening.
Oh, I'm going to take a side note real quick, Julie, because Julie knows her stuff. So I'm going to ask this. Hopefully she don't invoice me. And hi, Linda. Good to see you, my friend. So here's what happens to me. And I realized it was like human nature. I go to bed and then my brain just starts replaying danger. Oh my God, this. And I'm like, anybody else out there have this trouble? Because I can't be the only one. But there's a way. Stoicism really helped me get a grasp on this. And so go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I think Stoicism is actually a wonderful tool for that, actually.
Okay.
It's actually Stoicism, sorry, side note, but on topic, Stoicism is actually the baseline of cognitive behavior therapy. So there's probably a reason why that helped you. And DBT. So
it's not nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's like the baseline philosophy of it. But I think that like when we have like racing thoughts, I think, that's sometimes we call those, loops, we're kind of, our mind is trying to find some kind of resolution. A lot of times April can probably go into this, and we can take that into our dreams. It can go a lot of different places, but lots of times what's happening is it's not that something's wrong. It's just our body is trying to complete our nervous system is trying to complete a story and a narrative. And sometimes it's a disaster story. That's usually where it's trying to prepare us for, is like worst case scenario. And that's survival based, right? Is we have those loops at night because we're trying to resolve something that's stressful, because that's what our nervous system wants to feel, supported. But where April's work and my work and many other people in the Hounds work comes from is finding a way to resolve that in the body through breath work, through yoga, through somatics, right? We can find that resolution in the body without having to keep looping the worst case scenario to find, some kind of end result that has negativity, bias in it, which we all get. It's a survival mode, but that's kind of where we end up. But that's where the somatics is really important.
Okay. If April, I want to dive into this because this is where the meat is. This is where tell your friends, share the replay, because this is where we're struggling inside, and it holds us back from the impact and the harmony that we absolutely can achieve. Is it easy? Oh, hell no. Is it worth it? Absolutely. All right. Keep that in mind, because I lived on autopilot and dysregulated. So I want to define this. I want to make sure that this is really, really clear for folks, that they have the best chance of applying this, right? Not just theory. So, Julie, we'll start with you. When you say regulation, right, when we talk about high functioning and dysregulated, I thought you had to be both. Part of that was cultural, and part of that was just, my caveman brain doing its thing.
Right.
So when we say regulation, what does that actually mean in real life?
I mean, the framework that I put it through is through, is through Nervous System Science by Stephen Porges. And, I take it through the framework of orientation, capacity, choice, rhythm, because that whole thread is the opposite of what we would call trauma or stress. It doesn't have to be. It just, the spectrum of stress from just normal stress to just, you know, traumatic experience. When what I like to think of it is like when our body is braced, okay, there's no flow. We can't move through this cognitive somatic process of orientation, capacity, choice. Where am I? You know, that's orientation. Capacity. What is how much energy do I have to preserve? You know, what are my resources? Choice. What choices are actually in front of me that I can actually make, and how can I find like a rhythm to it? How can I repeat that again? So I'm creating these new habits. That is the beginning of regulation. And that whole framework, that's kind of how I frame almost everything I do.
Speaking of frame, I wanted to do this, but your face gets cut in half. So let's stick with this.
Whenever I do that, I'm like, I need to move over.
Well, but see, I did. And honestly, examples like April Curtis Rivers, I thought, wow, you know, how do they get anything done? But they got a ton done. They seem happy, right? They were out doing their thing and enjoying the gym. And I'm going, dude, I'm grinding like a monster. And I'm not. We all get 24 hours a day. Some maximize it. And that's where I wanted April to chime in. When we talk about, you know, high performance, we feel like we always throttled on, right? So how does regulation in this context, right? How does that change performance in the moment, right? In other words, when we start to regulate and all the things you've taught and guided me through, how does that show up in our decision-making, communication, leadership, presence? Like, what's the first thing you see improves when somebody starts to regulate?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say, just as Julie, I love it, what you just mentioned about those. Could you say those three? Was it 3 or 4 again?
It's 3, but I added on just the habit piece. It's orientation,
Yes.
Capacity, choice, and then I say rhythm or flow, which is just like habit forming.
Yes, that is perfect. I really want people to hear that, because that orientation first starts with awareness. We have to be aware of when we are dysregulated or when we are in those moments in that sympathetic nervous system of that protection. Once we are aware of, oh, I'm sensing this again, this is a pattern that keeps showing up, that's the key. And I always say, you know, curiosity, be curious, not judgmental against ourselves of, why do I keep doing this? You know, then we beat ourselves up about it. And then that just keeps that ongoing ruminating thoughts, and then the body's responding. It's a vicious cycle. So having that awareness first is so important. And then once we have that awareness, then we can kind of look through a different lens of life and how we're managing ourselves. And then it's the drops in the bucket, right? It's meaning that we're building that capacity within our nervous system. And then we have a little bit more space. We can breathe a little bit easier. We can still handle the stress, you know, lead teams, you know, raise kids, run a business and all that, and be aware of when we are, you know, dysregulated, and then bringing it back to the regulation. That is the key. It's not just, oh, I'm going to jump through these hoops and I'll be regulated for the rest of my life. No. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, I washed my dishes once. I washed my dishes one time, and I don't have to wash them again.
You got to keep washing them dishes, but it's the drop in the bucket, and that's what builds that capacity. That's what Julie was talking about. And again and again and again, we have many opportunities to learn and to regulate.
I think I heard one of y'all say, or probably both, but to paraphrase it, we say that calm is power under control. So this was fascinating to me, because what you just said changed my whole perspective, right? When I looked at things as a scientist, like, you're the most curious. You're curious like a cat, right? I mean, you are a cat. It just, how does this work? How does that work? And when you look at it, when you zoom out of your own stuff and you zoom out and look at it, then you're like, well, why do I do that? Well, where did that come from? What tape is that? What thought is that? And here's how I phrased it, Julie, and because I want both of y'all to. My little girl, I saw her doing the same thing I was doing, right, throughout life. And I said, do you have that little negative thought popping in? She said, yeah. And I said, okay, who is that thought in your head talking to? Like, you're having that discussion, right? I don't mean you're crazy. It's just that's the best redneck way I can put it. When the thought says, hey, you suck and this is going to happen and all this stuff, the question is, who is that talking to? And what do I say back, right? Julie, now put this into like academia, because April really helped me. She would ask questions to say, hey, and she never told me what to do. She got at me. So I go, aha, right? Like, you're right. What the hell is that? I don't have to accept that thought. So what's your experience in science behind that? Or did I just lose like my mind?
No, you didn't lose at all. Not at all. Well, I mean, lots of times the voice in our head can be the voices of people that were caretaking for us as kids that are still in there. Many times, the actual, I know this is like, whenever I say this, like gives me pressure as a parent, but it's a point, but like that those first, couple of, years we're alive can actually, that with parents, they kind of can't, parents or caregivers or just important people in our life can become the voice in your head. And then over time, that voice can become your voice. Yeah. And like what Deborah Jackson said, and, and over time, that voice in your head can be a lot of people, those ideas. And then that's where I always am asking, whose ideas am I thinking? Right. When we start to, just like what April told you is, kind of asking those questions, like, where did that come from? But from a larger lens, that's a lot of childhood, a lot of childhood thoughts that sometimes we get through, just how we are nurtured or cared for better or for worse as children, but those voices do end up in our heads over a period of lifetime. But that's where those exploration and curiosity, those questions, because you get to become, whose thoughts am I thinking? Are these someone else's beliefs that I'm thinking? And where are mine? Right?
Okay. I'm going to ask this in the most human way possible. April Wyatt. Again, calm is power under control. So what did Mike confuse calm with? And people like Mike. I'm not the only one. What do we confuse calm with? Like for me, I was like weakness, apathy, disinterest, laziness, not getting it done. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's my default. I was unaware. And how do you help them build calm without losing the edge?
Well, first, I really want to just add a little to what Julie just said about the little voice in the head. People just need to hear this. It is so true. I call it's belief systems, right? We have these belief systems, the BS. You have BS in your head, and you get to choose how to shift the script.
Yeah.
And I wrote in an anthology with CJ and Susanna. Hello, if you're watching or listening. And I talked about that when I was going through college, and I was diagnosed with dyslexia at a young age. And my father always told me, you have to study harder. You're never going to basically make the grade kind of thing. And so I was studying. I was going to Drake University when we moved back here. And that tape kept going on and on of how I am not good enough, basically. That's what I heard from my 7-year-old self, that I would never get A's or anything like that. And I'd have to study harder. And after meditation, I heard that. And then I recognized it for what it was. It was so cool, Julie. You would appreciate that. And I was like, this is the BS. This is not mine. This is my own father's insecurity of him seeing me not measure up, and he projected it on me. So once I saw that, it was so it just wow. It was relief. Yes. So I just wanted to say that, because everybody carries something. some thread, and we can choose to shift the script, see it for what it is, not believe it because it is BS. It really is.
I did
just
not.
wanted to say that.
But
ahead.
the cool thing is, though, I just want to say to like the work of like the nervous system and regulation is the cool thing I think is that, you know, this is where therapy and, you know, April's work and many other people in Hounds, you know, their work comes is you get to find the thoughts that are yours, the feelings that are yours, right? Like that's like the other side of that. I always like to, you know, I always like to make sure that we hear is that, you know, we can hear the BS, but it's like, but then you get to fill those spaces up with your own thoughts and your own beliefs. And I remember
Yes.
like when I was going through a lot of my own, you know, healing, I used to be like, oh, that is a Julie thought. Oh, that is that is actually me. You know what I mean? And that is really healing for the nervous system as well, to be like, yeah, that is you. You are in your body and you are, you know, navigating the ship and you can do this.
Yes.
Oh, these got to be short videos, man. I did the same thing at PodFest, ladies. All of a sudden, I was like, you got to get a rate of return. You got to go to this workshop. You got to do this. You got to do that. I'm going, what? It was like gnats. I was like, what the hell is it? Yeah. I was like, anybody seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
did. I was like, wait a minute. No, I am here to make connection, not to force anything, and to see what the hell happens. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to just explore, see people, and that go from there. And here's to your point, both of you ladies. Folks, share this in the comments, please. I had no idea until my mid-40s that I could actually define success for myself. In one point, and I'm going to be just plain open and vulnerable because I want people to connect with this. Because when you do, you can go out there and make an impact. I didn't know I could do that because I didn't have confidence in myself. Like anybody out there, and you don't have to tell me, but ask yourself, I would think something brilliant and then go, oh, that can't be right because it was for me. Am I the only one? And then one day I was like, no, that is brilliant. And you earned that the hard way. You researched it. You went through hell. You got good guidance. That is true. Or it's my truth, right? So if anybody want to add anything, because I just wanted to throw that out there. Oh, that's not a good thought because it's my thought. Oh, holy cow, this show's for you.
Yes.
The first thing that comes to my head is something that I heard from a podcaster one time. I can't remember what podcast it was, but it was imposter. It was like how to handle imposter syndrome. And she said to do an I did that bucket. And so every time you did something that was like, it went against the imposter syndrome, you would have this like, I did that bucket or like folder that you would like be able to like, you know, show evidence that some of those like thoughts, you know, aren't actually true, which I thought was great.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, mine would look like the Greater Louisville phone book in the 80s, y'all. Like, but see, you can do it. And that's the whole point. It's like when I get into a certain room, and it doesn't happen much, thank goodness. But when I get into a certain environment and everybody's kind of, you know, dog eat dog, or it's, you know, really transactional, it is hard for me not like, well, am I the only one that doesn't belong? And I'm like, that's the point. Like, do you attract one or two people that could, you know, be a good fit with you? I'm not here to do what everybody else does. And that hard fought confidence. This is what happens when you take what you ladies are talking about. Oh, and by the way, is it easy? You alluded to this before. It's not like you just do one thing or read a book, meditate a few times, go to a retreat and you're fine. This is an ongoing. It sucks. It really does suck. The process sucks. But here's what I want you all to chime in. And audience, please. It sucked, but keeping on the same path I was on sucked worse. Sometimes that's like hardheads like me and country folks and like, you know, military men. You kind of got to frame it differently. And I'm going to do that for you. You know, yeah, it's hard to do that and talk about our feelings. But, you know, do you go home and yell at your family? You know, are you truly happy? And if you're, a lot of guys out there are courageous, but here's the most courageous word: doing the inner work. You want to really be tough? I fought fire for 8 years. The inner work, way harder to me than that, because you got to get real. You got to get vulnerable. But then guess what? You can relate to others. When you understand yourself, you understand, and you're not affected by it. That's what April got. I'm like, just because that person's doing it, like, I'll stop here, but somebody one day tried to push my buttons. And then it dawned on me, little April Wyatt in my voice said, take the buttons off. You can't stop other people from doing it, but you can. Why you have buttons here to be pushed? And that was the inner work. Well, because childhood and all kind of other crap, and that's the inner work, right? So, ladies, you want to cap that before we?
Well, yeah, you mentioned, having the buttons, right? So it's also, once we recognize that nobody can make us feel a certain way, right? This is us, and we have to take responsibility for those reactive, moments. And when you asked before about regulation, Mike, I just want to answer that really quickly. Regulation doesn't mean that you're calm all the time either, right? That's a big misconception about that. And through the BBTRS, right, it's about creating that capacity we talked about, the ability to notice what's happening in the body, our emotions, the nervous system. And it's without, becoming overwhelmed or shut down or that reactionary mode. We're just little drops in the bucket, right? Understanding, that's what builds the capacity. And it's the ability to stay in relationship with yourself while the stress is present, while you're in that hard in between spot. It is challenging. It can be very challenging to not give in to those old patterns and how the nervous system wants to respond, because that's the protection. It's not right or wrong. I want everybody to hear that too. Our bodies are trying to protect ourselves. Now, is the pattern still useful? No, but having that awareness about it, that's the key right there.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a point, that we do in Integrate's app, is we, when we were designing kind of the content of that, we were talking about what you're just saying. We talk about it in spirals, right? Is that it's not going to be a straight line. Whenever I talk to any mental health app or anybody working in tech, I'm like, this is not linear. This is not linear work. It actually goes in a spiral, and we, the way that we design content in the app is we start with like a small learning to feel those little signals, right? Because you're right, Mike, like conditioning, if we're not used to feeling our feelings, it feels really hard. So sometimes just noticing like one thing, one sensation, and then you can work out and move into deeper work over time, and it can get bigger the more you're with yourself over time in those moments. But that's the reason we, we design, I design content and I design platforms with that spiral in mind when we start moving kind of this analogy into like a more 2D digital space. It's because we can't do it all at one time. We would overwhelm ourselves if we tried to if I tried to dive into, if I was in a really, really hard space or had a traumatic experience and, tried to dive into something that was really deep and was maybe harder than what my nervous system could handle at the time, I would absolutely collapse into, we would call a dysregulated dorsal vagal in like the polyvagal theory perspective, which would be a shutdown, which means there's no capacity. I can't make choices because I'm in survival.
I call it flooded.
Yeah. But that's if you go too far, too fast through this process, like I think Linda said, you will end up in that. That's why the nervous system titration is what we talk about in somatics. So, doing little bits at a time, which is where a lot of my work in design comes in, somatic UX, is learning to design from that lens so people can have choices with wherever they are at in their nervous systems, and they can find their capacity in those moments.
Okay, I'm going to switch to a subject that I had just yesterday, a couple of weeks maybe, have finally embraced after just beating my head against the wall, and that's rest and recovery. So real quick, let's define it because I want to make sure people don't get confused. What's the difference between rest and real recovery, Julie?
The difference between rest and real recovery, we're looking at, you want a pattern of, of rest in your recovery. So it's kind of both and, but I think, in terms of rest, you're learning to ground, you're learning to find, I always say you're learning to find a space of in like the world of like somatics, we talk about the window of tolerance. I call it the window of self-compassion, just because I never want people to think I'm like I want you to tolerate abuse or tolerate something that's
Right.
cruel. But like but I like to think of it as like the window of self-compassion, right? To what degree can I find that window of groundedness in myself? Feet on the floor. Do I feel my feet on the floor? How's my breath? Okay, being able to notice those things is the beginning of resting. Now, real recovery is when we can go through a whole stress cycle and come back to that space of restfulness at the end of the stress cycle. Does that make sense? We can complete the stress cycle. Okay, we can go through fight, flight, freeze, and then come back to that state of rest and digest.
Yeah, it makes sense now. If you asked me 6 months ago, and I just lied to you and say, "Oh, it makes sense," but no, because I could rest on my phone and scroll, and my brain is not resting. Like, it is in panic mode. It's seeing weird stuff. I can't tell if the cat and the owl is AI, and it just and, oh my goodness. And I've been on vacation and felt worse afterwards. So that's where I want to bring April up, because it's more to it than that, but it's not overcomplicated. You have a way of simplifying these things. So again, when high performance people who are building businesses, juggling multiple balls, right? You got a family, and you think of like a mom, right? She's got a family, she's got all this, running a job, business. Woo-wee. So rest and real recovery. What's your insight?
Well, I, of course, completely agree with Julie 100%. As the BBTRS is also with, polyvagal theory and what she just alluded to. And also, I just want to touch on the emotional aspect, after completing that recovery, right? Understanding completing that cycle and seeing how that shifted, even just the slightest. It doesn't have to be like, wow, I see rainbows and unicorns after that. No, it's more of, okay, I'm feeling a little bit more calm now. Mm-hmm. I don't have so much scattered thoughts. I have maybe a little bit more clarity, direction, and where I want to go. But also understanding the emotional aspect of it, having space to process instead of, pushing aside our emotions and thinking, oh, I don't have time for that. Or, oh, well, that was interesting. And then squirrel, we go over here. And then guess what? The cycle's going to start all over again. So giving ourselves that space to really, recover and acknowledge what's happening with our nervous system. Because not only just our nervous system, we're carving out new neural pathways in our brains. How cool is that?
That's super cool. Again, this is like 3 months ago. I've been like, it's cool. Not even done none of it. But it's worth it, folks. So before we move on, because I got to ask this, we got like 3 shows we could do. I got to have you ladies back. We got to make sure, because this is so empowering for people. It's enlightening, and they need it, and I needed it. So that's why I want to share it. But you're absolutely right. Like, I would have to get up and grind. Well, it's, I need to do 2 more hours, then I'll rest. It was a finish line that kept moving. It was like, oh, when I get here. But the problem is, when I got here, now it was here. I'm like, well, when I get here, and it just kept going. And then, so yesterday, without getting into the weeds, I'm proud of myself. All right, April, you got to be, after 2.5 years of patient coaching. And so everything just went downhill. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go play guitar. That was my response. I did the best I could with what I had. I said, you know what? Out of my control. I'm taking 20 minutes, get a sandwich, and play guitar. Come back. And yeah, did everything magically get fixed? No. But it did make it worse, and more things got done than would have if I just went on autopilot. If I just kept on, I got to grind. And by the way, you ladies and people in the comments, How many times have you sat down to just duke it out and got nothing accomplished? You basically wasted 2 hours. You did 10 minutes of work in that 2 hours of grind. Come on. I'm not saying there ain't a time for it. Hey, me and Goggins, we got a place. But if you throttle your car on 8,000 RPM day after day, Michael Phelps did not go hardcore training before he won 17 gold medals. When I learned that, I went, maybe I need to change my perspective. Maybe what I'm thinking isn't biologically sound. Any comments on that? I just shut off. Wow.
I was going to let April go. You can go, April.
I got a question.
What's your question?
All right. Yeah. I just want to make sure that the rednecks and the other people who are new to this get the crash course. It doesn't make you weak. It's the step in the right direction to doing greater things and being happier doing it.
Yeah. And making a choice that feels better. What feels better right now, or what feels easier too? Especially if we're disassociated from our bodies or having really extreme overwhelm, asking what is easier right now. Sure, just like Jennifer can say, I'm just going to go make another cup of coffee because that is what I need right now. Feeling the warmth of the cup, smelling it, pausing, just as you're playing guitar or spending time with your kids. How can we step away from all the busyness? Because this isn't living. Yeah. This is not living. This is why our bodies are like, what's happening here? Because this is not fulfilling. It's not living when you're push and feeling that you don't have the capacity. So what can you do that feels easier in that moment?
Yeah, I think that's where it goes, when we go back to orientation, capacity, choice. That's where the capacity is. What is an easy, doable choice for me to feel successful? Like I am like the worst, not the worst, but just I'm likely to try to do too many things. That's a sign of dysregulation to me. Like, number one, no, Julie, you're not going to do 3 emails. No, Julie, you're going to do 1 thing. You might not be able to do that thing. Is anyone waiting for you to do that thing? No, like, you don't have to do that. Like, nobody's sending an email for you to do the thing. I promise you, no one's waiting for it. That's just some like thoughts, real thoughts from my head some days in my workflow. But I think in those moments, I think it's really important to be like, what is one thing that I can do to help myself right now? That's a big capacity self-reflection. What is one thing I can do right now to help myself? Sometimes it's just going to bed or sometimes like even before I got on live here, I had a really long day today. And before I got on with you guys, I was like, I just need like 10 minutes. I put on a little yoga nidra on the Insight timer. And I just did like 5 minutes before I came here. So I could like be a little bit more lively than I felt, an hour and a half ago.
Oh yeah. Everything is a priority. Everything has to be done. And here's what helped me, guys. And again, not bragging, I'm just being open because I want you to win. But I said, well, I didn't get enough done today until I realized one of my full days is usually like other people's week or two. Like I usually do so much. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, it's not good enough. And I'm going, dude, this would kill half the population to do one of your full days. Why? Who are you judging this against? Right? Like your comparison, it really is the joy. The thief of joy. And so I just said, hey, that means you got to cut some stuff out. You got to reprioritize. Doesn't mean you're weak. Doesn't mean you suck. It means what's it for? Like I took my little girl out on a Thursday, but I had stuff to do. And here's what I told myself. I said, you know what? What's the point of running your own business if you ain't going to do stuff in your own? Like, yeah, that's what a job is for, in my opinion. Like, hey, you got a business. It's your business. You're the boss. Go do the important things. And you know what? For those who doubt it, like me for 4 decades, guess what happened? Nothing fell apart. No clients. In fact, I'll argue that things got much better because when I showed up to all these calls to get more done, dude, nobody likes a frazzled man with a camo hat. Let me tell you that. No, it's not the most attractive thing. When you're calm, you're grounded, you're thinking clearly, you're present, right? You're like, oh, I'm actually interested in you. I see you, boy. When you do 50 meetings because you have a quota, you're undoing yourself. And as you get better, then you can do more. But there are limits, and I respect those limits, right? It's almost like I was the guy that said, yeah, if I flap my arms really, really fast and I could fly off a building, that's not practical.
I was going to say, Mike, to your point is, I always like to live in this world. And I think this is a practical space to be in, because sometimes it's like, well, especially for high performers, which a lot of us are here in the comments and in the room, is what if, as far as getting stuff done in productivity, something I like to ask myself is what needs to be done that doesn't, impact or infringe on somebody else getting their job done. Okay. Like those are the things in my world that have to be done, like, a customer or client receiving something from me, those have to get done, but does the, what I mean? Does the email that could go out tomorrow go out one more other day? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? That's like just marketing. Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? Like, I really like to go through those, kind of think through those a little bit and how to prioritize it. So you can think about, well, what decisions or what things do I need to do that are going to impact other people? And then what are like things that are just like mine, like administrative things that could like, don't have to be done today, Uh-oh, you're muted.
Oh, he did the mute thing.
I'm not muted. I'm working on my mime impression when I'm not doing guitar. All right. So, April, before we move to the lightning round and then close out, is there anything you like to shine, share your wisdom?
Yeah, well, as we're all talking here, it's really about also creating safety for ourselves. When we feel safe, then automatically our nervous system relaxes. So having a way to find that safety, that support, and through my work, that's called resourcing. So looking for a space either within the body or around yourself, a tree, a piece of artwork, a family photo. If you're really feeling overwhelmed or feeling disassociated, check in, how am I feeling? Where's the safety for me right now? And then you can breathe in a little bit deeper and literally feel your nervous system relax. So safety is so key to any type of approach to build this capacity we're talking about with regulation.
I'm smiling because I felt all up, and I don't even know why I felt balled up. And then I realized I'm like Fred Sanford over here in my office shed studio. This guy got junk on top of junk on top of junk. And then some quote about cluttered mind, cluttered environment. And so I just cleaned it out. It was like, that was it. And usually I would just spiral and whine and, back in the day, and that's the calling card. That's why I'm so grateful for you ladies for sharing this. So we're going to move to the lightning round. Then I want you all to let folks know what you have going on, how they can tap into things, resources. Some people don't want to reach out yet. They want to look and peek around the corner. You ladies have tons of stuff that folks should take baby steps with. So let's go to it. All right, survival mode. We'll pick on April first. We'll give Julie a break, right? All right, so I got about 6 of them. 1 or 2 may suck. It's on me. Let's go. Survival mode sounds like blank.
Just keep going. Yeah.
There you go.
That's that hamster wheel.
Yeah. Should I
Julie?
answer that now? Okay.
Yep. Survival mode sounds
Survival
like
mode.
blank.
Yeah. Survival mode sounds like I can just answer one more email.
Oh, and it turned into 500 and they're pointless. Yeah. All right. And you can take liberty with it. Yeah, I don't care. Regulation, April. Regulation begins with?
What we're talking about, awareness.
Nice. Julie?
Being awareness.
Regulation begins with? In general. Oh, no. She either turned into a mannequin or she froze. What do you think it happened?
Oh no, she froze.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no, Mr. Bill.
I was going to say I'd answer 4, but I'm not qualified. But let's go. All right. April, rest in general, right? Just helpful tidbits like a fortune cookie. Rest isn't recovery until. I can guess what you might say here, but go ahead.
Rest isn't recovery until really it's about our nervous system relaxing, right? Stopping that bracing or that protection I was talking about earlier.
You want to know what I was going to say if I had to fill in the blank for you?
Until you put your toes in the grass?
No, close. I was going to say until it's intentional.
See,
I'll listen to you. I just act like I know sometimes. I'm just hard at it. All right. Capacity increases when?
Capacity increases when we build that safety, right? In our nervous system, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say. That's what.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry. All of a sudden we were there and then we weren't.
Yeah. I'm over here making stuff up. So capacity increases when blank.
Capacity increases. Let's see. Capacity increases in the presence of awareness.
There you go. And I even quoted April Wyatt. Says now she knows I do listen way more than she thought. All right. And last one. Sustainable results require. Long-term results require. Blank. We'll pick on Julie since she just froze and left.
I know. I froze for a second. Say that one more time. Sustainable. Okay, it's right over here.
I'll use it in a sentence. No, sustainable results require blank.
Results require. I mean, it requires flow. It requires, we would call it habit building, but yeah.
That was good. That was, I was like, should I ask that? I'm like, yeah, this panel can handle it because there's no wrong answers. I just want people to understand once they look at things in a different way. Oh, that's a quote, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. That's the point. Look at it from another angle. Yeah, you'll resist it at first, but I don't know, maybe it's better. It's like me wearing a suit. Like I actually look pretty daggum good in a suit. It itches. I hate it, but like maybe it fits well. So April, what is it for you? It's sustainable or long-term results require blank.
I was going to say almost the same exact thing as Julie. It's really about inner steadiness, getting that steadiness, understanding how that's working, the sustainability of your nervous system and being aware of that steadiness that you feel that you're not just reactionary all the time.
Finally. And it's not like I'm arrived and I'm just Buddha and enlightened, but I now have the tools, the mindset, the experience, and the confirmation that it's worth it. And when I do get frazzled, now I can call you or pick up a book or meditate or do something that's going to be not unraveled, right? And that's the point. Mm-hmm. So ladies, you are phenomenal. I really appreciate you as friends and guides. Love having you in the hounds. Again, Julie, thank you for bringing the show and support and everything you do. April, my goodness gracious. And then we'll bring up Jennifer Thompson. I forgot to give her a warning. So if you got anything you want to do before I pull you up or you pull yourself up, ladies, share. April, your website, can people find the Bali retreat, all this good stuff at your website? Tell them how.
Yes, I have an amazing retreat coming up, and it is on the northern shore of Bali. And again, this is about people who are high-level entrepreneurs, professionals that are tired of self-help books or just online things, and they are really craving connection and also want that pause so they can rise above the noise of daily life and all of that. So we have some fun and engaging things planned for everyone, but it's also a cultural immersion too, as we do a waterfall tour and go explore different areas of the northern Bali area. So if you're curious about that, I just have 6 spots open, And please message me, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Oh yeah, do it. See, that's a step in the big step in the right direction. Birds of a feather flocking together, right? And Julie, see, April, you got to send me the new picture. I still got her old little picture with the world's tiniest QR code. So I'll pull this up because you have the QR code. So folks, you can either go to the on screen or you can scan the QR code. Julie, what do you got for people?
Yeah. So we have a digital health summit coming up, Integrate does, where we're going to talk about all the things that we've just talked about. We're going to talk about how we build systems with nervous system awareness in tech, in leadership, and how we can, build a more sustainable environment in our professional lives. So, and of course, inside of ourselves as well. But that's called Signals and Systems. It's by Integrate Trauma Informed Network and Katie Kurtz, and that's June 3rd and 4th. And you can get the recording of it, or you can attend live. So we got that coming up, so you can get kind of the hang of how kind of the point of view that we work from at Integrate.
Yes, you all go to the website, folks, seriously, and follow these ladies, all of them, on LinkedIn. Right? No fluff, no goofiness, just honesty. I mean, again, it's like a doctor, right? Like I've had a brilliant doctor with zero bedside manner. And there's a lot of doctors, so I'm going to hold out till I got both. One that understands and treats me well and also has the brilliance. That's why I appreciate you ladies coming on the show, all you do for people, because you do care and you're brilliant. Great combo. And Jennifer, shameless plug, wrap us up in about 15 seconds and tell folks what you want them to know. How many spots are available for this anthology? It's a great way to build authority when you know the right lane. And you'll be on our show with Bruce Silverman, arming and helping people figure out, like, what questions do I ask? When should I do this? Because sometimes it's the wrong time to do it, right? Out of season strategy. So take it away. Oh, you doing like me? See?
Yeah,
there you go.
I am. Here I am, talking all the time, but I forget to mute three spots. I have
It's the hound's way.
spots. For this anthology, this is not a regular anthology. I always say becoming is not a destination. It is a decision. Kind of like what we were talking about. You have to make a decision to change the way you're doing things. Otherwise, nothing changes. You keep doing the same thing. So if you're a leader seeking to expand your influence, this is the opportunity. I invite you to find a little bit more about what this anthology is about by connecting with us through I Am Magazine. This is not a regular anthology. There's a lot of different things that we are doing with this. I have done anthologies. Mike have done anthologies. We have all participated here on one way or another. And one of the things that we are changing a lot is the one-on-one training that we are coaching that we're doing, not only for how to tell your story, but creating your marketing plan to use this tool as a door opener. And with this anthology, we wanted it to become a tool for people to find a way out of that messy middle that sometimes we get into through life quakes. So there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more next week, so tune in.
Yes.
But in between today and next week, go to iammagazine.com, book call. I'll tell you more about it, and I know that you will love it.
Oh, I've already sent 2 people over, and I think at least one did. Yes. So we're going to show up. Bring your friends, have a party. Even if you're busy next Wednesday, I know y'all are. All right, just listen to it in the background. We're going to bring value, things you can use. Again, thank you, ladies. Good to see the folks that some people still can't comment, but we're getting more back. So thank you so much. And I saw Royce pop in. Linda is leaving. Of course, Deborah Jackson, with one and only with Bella Grace. Can't wait to bring her up here again soon. So y'all have a good day. Go take this in practice. And by the way, you're going to mess up. Get over it. Get over it. Go mess up faster. Get the learning curve, compressed time frame.
Spiral.
Yeah. Just shake it out. Literally shake it out of your body. You get frustrated. I'm driving. I'm like, somebody cuts me off.
Dance it
Let
out.
that go. Get it out.
That's it. And hey, this is a perfect spot for a well-deserved shameless plug. Hounds of Business, because y'all give a lot of grace. because we give a lot because we want a lot of grace. And so be around supportive people, whether it's us or someone. Go get in, right? Be supported, go be uplifted, get it done, y'all. Appreciate you. We'll catch you next time. Jennifer, you gonna push the button or should I? Would you like
I'll do it. Yay.
the outro button?
See you next week.
Be good, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.